On March the 11th, 2020, the sports world changed in what seemed like an instant. That evening, Utah Jazz center Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus, and the NBA acted promptly to suspend the season. In the following days, sports leagues throughout North America and the rest of the world would follow suit. The NHL and MLS suspended their seasons. Major League Baseball delayed the start of the 2020 season, as did Formula One after a team member tested positive for the virus. In the midst of all this, a question that seemed to come up everywhere and anywhere, whether it was Twitter, sports channels, or national news stations, was what happens to staff, the arena employees who will now go without work as a result of the virus? Should they be paid? What would be the ethical thing to do? And all this made me think about the financial impact that the virus is going to have on sports teams and leagues. After all, they are businesses. They're there to make a profit. And like many companies, they found themselves suddenly forced to shut down and lose large amounts of income. An article from the World Economics Forum illustrates the impact that COVID-19 has had on sports from a financial aspect. From this graph, we can see how some of the major sports leagues, and by extensions the team within them, earn their money. Regardless of what percentage of incomes comes from which income stream is beyond the point. When the virus struck, all these income streams were suddenly lost. Income streams that help pay some of the previously mentioned arena staff. And so, with all this money suddenly vanished, sport leagues had to get creative in order to have some form of money flowing in until sports could safely return. And so they did. You see, people watch sports for a number of reasons, but perhaps the main reason is that it provides us, the fans, with a form of entertainment. With people being told to stay home as much as possible in the early days of the virus, entertainment options quickly became thin, so the people who work for sport leagues got creative. It's a skill that's sure to remain important in these ever-changing times, but this creativity did not come about just to provide us at home with entertainment. Fans having something to watch means commercials and sponsors, which equals money for these businesses and helps offset some of the financial impacts of the virus. I personally am an auto racing fan, and I found myself watching the NASCAR races that featured the actual drivers competing on a racing simulator in replacement of the actual races. And now, when the racing returned to actual tracks, I find myself tuning in to watch parts of the race each and every week, something I'm doing with NASCAR for the first time since 2014. Now that we've taken a look at the leagues themselves, I would like to take a look at what teams have done to maximize their income in these times. For this, the Buffalo Bills and their Vice President of Operations and Guest Experiences, Andy Major, will be the example. In their case, the state of New York's government has involved itself in sports by not allowing any fans to attend games at New Era Field. One way Andy and his team have planned to recover some of the lost matchday income is to bring in more sponsorship income. To do this, he says they plan to place tarps over the tops of seats and allow sponsors to place their logos on them. However, ultimately, Andy wants fans to return, and he and his team are working to implement some protocols and procedures that will allow fans to safely return and then be able to bring in the Bills some more matchday income. With all this in mind, a few skills come up that may well be useful to sport professionals in the years to come. I have already mentioned that creativity will remain an important skill because of the unpredictable times we're currently living in, but all this unpredictability makes adaptability an important skill as well. After all, the world and subsequently the sports industry have changed so much in the past few months, and sport professionals will need to be able to keep up if they wish to be successful. Critical thinking will also become an important skill. The changes that have happened recently have brought about a lot of problems, like the financial impact of the virus, for example, and sport professionals will benefit from the ability to analyze and solve these problems effectively. This also means that conceptual skills, the ability to think long-term and big picture, will also be very important as we enter into a new era of sport. It will be beneficial for sport professionals to be able to think long-term, and it will help the organizations to be successful in the long run. So to end the video, we've seen sports begin to return now, and in some cases, so have the fans as well. And that gives us here in Toronto hope that someday soon we can return to our favorite stadiums to watch our favorite teams and athletes play. But the question has to be asked, can the sports world ever fully recover from the virus?